You think you understand power, but what if I told you the most dangerous kind is the one you never see coming? Picture this: a crowded room, voices clashing, everyone desperate to be noticed. Then, silence. One figure withdraws, vanishes from the noise. Suddenly the balance shifts. The absence screams louder than the loudest voice. People whisper, "Where did they go? What are they planning?" Fear replaces comfort. Control flips in an instant. Those who cling to attention are pawns. Those who vanish at will are kings. Power is not in presence. It's in the mystery you leave behind. And in minutes, you'll discover how to wield this invisibility as a weapon that even Machiavelli warned about. Now step outside yourself. Watch from above, cold, detached, untouchable. See how they move when you stop moving for them. Their comfort turns into suspicion, their certainty into doubt. You are no longer a participant. You're the unseen observer, shaping the stage without lifting a hand. This is tension by design, emotional detachment not as weakness, but as survival code. The less accessible you become, the more magnetic your presence grows. They will chase your shadow because the unknown terrifies them more than the familiar. You've cut the leash of predictability, and now every return becomes an earthquake. This is not ordinary discipline. It is psychological warfare, the kind that makes empires tremble. This is the threshold. Cross it, and you'll never live as someone predictable again. If you're ready to stop being common and start becoming untouchable, step inside. Subscribe to Curiosity to Wisdom. Here, you don't just learn, you transform into the kind of presence people can't ignore, even in your absence. Your greatest flaw has never been fragility or weakness. It is exposure without enigma, visibility without shadow. You have lived as an open book in a world that reveres the locked vault. Every flicker of emotion you wear on your face, every twitch of reaction you surrender in conversation, is not harmless expression. It is data, intelligence, weaponry handed freely into the hands of those who would use it against you. They catalog your hesitations, your smiles, your sighs, until they know precisely which levers to pull to bend you. And you, fearing obscurity more than manipulation, make yourself available like cheap currency in a market that only rewards scarcity. The more you hand yourself out, the less you are worth. You confuse presence with power, forgetting that presence without mystery is merely noise. Your desperation to be seen has become your undoing. Rejection terrifies you, so you broadcast your intentions loudly, like a neon sign begging to be noticed. But in your glow, there is no intrigue, no leverage, only predictability. Predictability is death in a psychological battlefield. The ignored child in you still scrambles for applause, not realizing that applause without power is hollow. You have mistaken attention for value, mistaking a crowd's glance for their respect. Fatal miscalculation. The most formidable figures in any room are not those explaining themselves, but those shrouded in silence, those whose presence presses against others without being defined. They generate gravity through their absence, while you have been dissolving yourself through overexposure. You've been flooding the market with your availability until your stock collapsed to nothing. Understand this: when your time, your energy, your focus are always within reach, they cease to carry weight. Psychology bows to the unavailable. Minds obsess over what they cannot hold, not what is end. Leslie offered. This is not about cruelty nor about false coldness. It is about discipline, precision. You must kill the weaker version of yourself tonight, quietly. No announcements, no dramatic exits, only the subtle burial of the self who begged for acceptance. From those ashes will rise a figure others cannot easily define. Someone who makes access feel like privilege, whose attention feels like a reward, whose absence is as loud as their presence. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. That observation captures the brutal essence of power psychology. It is not what you are, but what others believe you to be, that dictates your influence. You can possess brilliance, integrity, or vision, but if your presentation contradicts those qualities, they vanish into irrelevance. A sharp intellect dressed in desperation will always be dismissed. Meanwhile, an average mind draped in mystique can command not only respect, but obedience. This is not fraud. This is architecture. It is the deliberate construction of perception. You are not lying when you withhold. You are curating, sculpting, controlling the release of truths with surgical timing. To survive and to dominate, you must become classified information, restricted access, layered security, clearance granted only to those who earn it. History confirms this law. In 1928, Edward Bernays shifted the behavior of an entire generation of women not by altering the cigarette, but by reframing it as a torch of freedom. The product stayed the same. The frame changed everything. That is the secret. You are both the product and the architect. Every word you speak becomes a frame. Every silence becomes a calculated statement. Every withdrawal inflates your perceived value. The powerful do not beg to be understood. They do not convince through argument. Instead, they cultivate conditions so compelling that others persuade themselves. When someone dismisses you in the present, they are not rejecting your essence. They are rejecting a fragment, an incomplete data set. Let them. Their misjudgment is not your failure. It is your future leverage. The true power move is not to retaliate with dramatic reveals or impulsive "I'll show them" declarations. That energy exposes weakness. Instead, commit to the long game. Reconstruct yourself piece by piece, eatly, deliberately, until you exist in their minds as an unanswered question. You become the figure they cannot pin down, the presence they remember at 2 a.m. when silence makes them restless. You are the absence that weighs heavier than another's presence. This is not vanity. This is survival. In an economy where attention is the only currency, you must become the central bank, untouchable, fortified, indispensable. You are not just in the game. You are the vault everyone dreams of accessing. Master the art of calculated revelation. This is not conversation. It is war disguised as dialogue, strategy hidden beneath the rhythm of words. It is the science of withholding, the architecture of control. Every sentence you utter from now on must serve a purpose. Every fragment of yourself becomes currency. Until now, you have been your own greatest saboteur, giving yourself away in bulk like a clearance rack no one asked for. Your stories spilled without restraint, your opinions scattered without demand, your vulnerabilities exposed without cost. A flood of access that devalued your worth. That era ends here. From this moment forward, every shard of yourself has a price, not financial, but psychological. An investment of energy, trust, or vulnerability must be offered to you before a single detail leaves your mouth. They want to know your weekend plans. They reveal theirs first. They press for your perspective. You respond not with your thoughts, but with a question sharp enough to cut skin. This is how asymmetry is born. The one who reveals least holds the most leverage. Execution requires surgical precision. First, create scarcity through silence. Resist the coward's urge to fill conversational gaps. Let silence stretch, wire tight, until they cannot bear the pressure and spill themselves to relieve it. Second, master the incomplete loop. Offer them 80% of a story, then pivot abruptly with, "But that's not important right now." Watch as curiosity devours them, scratching at the missing 20% you alone control. Third, build hierarchies of access. Acquaintances receive crumbs, allies may receive fragments, but the innermost truths, the core of your psyche, belong to no one. Even those closest must feel the presence of distance, the cold steel of a locked vault they cannot breach. Fourth, deploy strategic vulnerability. Choose a weakness so precise it doubles as strength. My flaw. I cannot tolerate mediocrity. In that admission, you appear human, but formidable, approachable, yet dangerous. Fifth, Time your revelations like detonations. Do not reveal when expected. Withhold until the precise moment it destabilizes assumptions, forcing them to reconstruct their image of you from the ground up. Understand this truth. Calculated revelation is not a childish game of secrets. It is survival. Words are weapons, and every unnecessary detail you spill becomes ammunition for someone else's gun. Your silence is your armor, your withholding is your fortress, your timing is your strike. Success is clear when they confess, "I feel like I don't really know you," even as they orbit closer, desperate to unlock what you guard. That is when the frame has shifted. That is when you cease being an open book and become an encrypted manuscript, one they will spend years trying and failing to decode. Deploy the law of presence through absence. This is not a suggestion. It is a commandment for those who wish to wield power. It is the refined art of making your absence thunder louder than your presence ever could. Until now, you have committed the fatal mistake of omnipresence. You have been too accessible, too responsive, too emotionally available. Every hour, every text, every invitation met with eager compliance. You thought this was loyalty. You told yourself this was connection. In reality, it was weakness camouflaged as attentiveness. Omnipresence breeds contempt, because the world does not value what it can reach at will. Scarcity, not abundance, is the foundation of desire. What is everywhere loses all weight. What is rare gains gravity. From this moment forward, you must shift, not into rudeness, that repels, but into deliberate scarcity. Scarcity magnetizes. The difference is surgical. You will not vanish out of disdain, but out of precision. You leave not because you dismiss, but because you understand timing. Master timing, and you control perception. Exit conversations not when they drag, but when they are at their peak. Depart while your energy still commands the air. Walk out of gatherings while they are still leaning toward you, leaving them starved for more. Decline invitations without excuses, without apologies. One sentence suffices. "I can't make it." Nothing further. Explanations are weaknesses masquerading as words. When you over-explain, you hand away leverage. When you withhold, you raise your value. Now, consider its precise applications. Application 1, the workplace disappearing act. Arrive exactly on time, leave exactly on time. No loitering in corridors, no voluntary overtime to signal dedication. Watch as absence becomes signal. When you stop filling the background, the silence you leave behind becomes unmistakable. Application 2. Social. Media ghosting. 2 weeks of digital vanishing. No likes, no comments, no signals of approval, no announcement of withdrawal. Just silence. Watch as they question themselves, checking if you've blocked them, wondering what invisible shift has occurred. Application 3. The communication delay. Their message is not a summons. Their text is not a leash. Wait. Hours, sometimes days. Respond when convenient to you, not them. Break their patterns, dismantle their rhythms. Teach them that your attention is not tap water on demand, but rainfall, rare, unpredictable, precious. This is the threshold moment. If you are reading for entertainment, leave now. This path is not for the comfortable, but for those willing to weaponize psychology against themselves first. Presence. Through absence is not vanity, it is leverage. It transforms you from a background participant into an event, a rarity, a phenomenon, and only the ambitious will dare apply it. Transform rejection into intelligence. For too long you have bled when they cut you. You mistook rejection as a wound, when in truth it is a map. That reflex is weakness. Wrong response. From this moment forward, you do not absorb rejection as pain. You harvest it as data. Every dismissal, every exclusion, every cold shoulder is not humiliation, but information disguised as insult. When someone waves away your idea in a meeting, perfect. You've just uncovered the insecurities they are desperate to conceal, the areas they guard most fiercely. When someone ignores your message or refuses your interest, excellent. They've revealed where your energy should never again be invested. Rejection is not an ending. It is redirection. It is misallocated force signaling precisely where not to aim. Here is your new protocol. First, never react in the moment. Do not flinch. Do not grimace. Do not let your eyes betray you. Your face becomes marble. Your body becomes statue. Your only reply compressed into one word. Interesting. That single syllable holds more power than a dozen rebuttals. Second, withdraw, but do so with surgical precision. No drama, no announcement, no collapse into self-explanation. Quietly remove your energy, your attention, your presence from their ecosystem until they feel the cold of your absence without understanding why. Third, analyze the rejection. Study it as if it were classified intelligence. What did it reveal about their fears, their alliances, their hidden limitations? This is gold, the kind of intelligence others pay fortunes for. Fourth, recalibrate your trajectory, not to chase them, not to prove them wrong, but to rise so far above their ceiling that their rejection becomes irrelevant to your architecture. Fifth, return, if you ever return, only from a position of undeniable advantage. Make them wonder if their rejection even registered, that uncertain.
Ain't-y is psychological leverage. Understand this. The amateur seeks revenge, while the professional seeks elevation. When they reject you, they reveal the ceiling of their vision, the boundaries of their world. Your job is not to shrink beneath it begging for entry. Your job is to build new floors above it until their ceiling becomes your foundation. They cut you from the team, build your own league. They exclude you from the meeting, engineer moves that render their meetings obsolete. Their no is not a wall, it is a compass. Emotional detachment is not cruelty, it is clarity. The moment rejection stops provoking collapse, it begins generating advantage. Every dismissal, every denial, every exclusion becomes not personal. It becomes architectural, a blueprint, a structure, a new floor in the empire you are building. Install these micro-behaviors until they no longer feel like techniques but like instincts, an operating system that runs beneath your awareness. This is not about performance. This is about reprogramming how you move, how you speak, how you exist, until power becomes second nature. Voice. Lower your pitch by 20%. Speak 30% slower than you do now. When you slow your rhythm, others speed theirs to match your gravity. End every statement with a downward inflection. Questions are the weapon of lawyers, but leaders make declarations. Your tone is not casual, it is verdict. Posture. Shoulders back, spine aligned, chin parallel to the floor. Take up space without apology. Sit not as if you were invited, but as if you own the building. Stand as though your portrait will be stamped on currency. Your body becomes silent propaganda. Eye contact. Hold for 3 seconds minimum. Do not just look at them. Look through them, as though reading the code of their soul. When you break eye contact, glance to the side, never downward. Downward movement signals submission. Sideways signals calculation. Silence. This is your new superpower. Before responding to any question, count to 3 in your mind. The pause unsettles. It makes them second guess. It forces them to fill the silence with their own insecurity. Let silence become the atmosphere in which you reign. Availability. Schedule everything. Every request, no matter how trivial, earns the same reply. Let me check my calendar.
Even coffee, especially coffee, nothing about you is casual. Every interaction is scarce by design. Digital presence, post 80% less. When you do, it must be significant, not noise. Never comment, never react, only declare. Speak as though your words are carved into stone. One message that lands with weight is worth more than 1,000 fleeting posts. Physical space. Arrive last. To any non-essential gathering, leave first from all of them. Your timing creates unpredictability, and unpredictability creates fascination. Information flow. Deflect questions with sharper questions. Why do you ask? What's your thought? Make them reveal their hand before you reveal even a single card. Emotional displays. Enthusiasm is rationed. Anger is for amateurs. Joy is reserved for private circles. In public, you are Switzerland, neutral, precise, impossible to provoke, but with better watches. Standards, never bend them. Not for love, not for money, not for opportunity. The moment you compromise, you collapse. These are not tactics. They are architecture. Repeat until violation feels unnatural. Repeat until discipline becomes your signature. This transformation is no longer optional. It is survival. You've seen too much to return to the weaker version of yourself. You've noticed how quickly people categorize you within seconds of entering a room, how they probe at your boundaries with casual remarks, how they exploit your availability until you have nothing left to give. The old you, the version desperate for approval, performing for validation, surrendering power with every smile and explanation, is gone. Dead. What remains is someone entirely new, someone they have not yet encountered, someone who no longer bends to the gravitational pull of others but generates gravity of their own. This new self makes absence louder than presence, silence sharper than words, and scarcity more valuable than gold. Your rule from here forward is brutally simple. You exist at a price point most cannot afford. This is not arrogance. It is architecture. You have stopped auditioning for acceptance in rooms unworthy of your presence. You've stopped begging to be noticed and started building something that compels others to beg for entry. The powerful never chase. They never explain. They create conditions so calculated, so magnetic, that others chase them. This is not cruelty. It is discipline. In a world drowning in endless availability, scarcity is the only currency that appreciates. So engrave this moment into your mind. This is the pivot point, the night when mediocrity became your sworn enemy, the instant when you chose calculation over emotion, clarity over chaos, gravity over grasping, rejection, dismissal, indifference. All of it now translates into flawed math on their part, not a wound on yours. Their refusal is not a verdict, it is proof of their short-sightedness. And while they underestimate you, you rise. Quietly, deliberately, relentlessly. You no longer explain your worth. You embody it. You no longer ask to be inky, luded. You create conditions where exclusion is impossible. You no longer seek to be remembered. You build a presence so undeniable that your absence haunts them. When they enter the room and fail to notice you, understand something profound. It is not failure. It is strategy. Perfect. Because from this point on, you will not fight to be seen. You will make them feel your absence forever. This is your rebirth, not of kindness lost, but of calculation gained, not of cruelty, but of clarity. And from this moment, you are no longer one of many. You are the gravity